Hello and welcome back to my craft. It's the 12th of July already. I've had my Uwe box from Johnny for a good couple of weeks now, and I've decided it's high time I get on with it. I've been distracted by one thing and another, mainly to do with stitchery and art swaps. So here's the box that Johnny sent me, and it was all about quilling this time. And the challenge he gave me was Christmas in July. Now, I didn't realise, but apparently that's a thing. Up where he is, up in the north of the country, people actually dress and decorate and have parties and things all about Christmas. And when I looked into it a bit, I found that there are other places where this is a thing. Not in my world, but you know. So that's what that's about. Johnny sent me all colours of the rainbow with these lovely quilling papers. There's every colour I can think of there. He also sent me even the scissors and a pokey tool and the little quilling tool that you use for rolling it up with, and a little pair of tweezers, and this really cute curling coach, that's called, for getting different size circles, a really fine nozzle, but all for my glue to go in, so I'll probably use something like this. I've got all sorts of different PVA glues I will try. There's this kind of a template, I guess these are, and then this lovely thing here which I'm really looking forward to trying. This, I suppose you call it, is it a mat, or I don't know what you call it, but yeah, just to help you get the shapes that you need. So I've got everything I need there to get started. I have watched a million videos and I just thought it's time to just crack on and do it now. You can't keep putting this off because you're scared. Now I've also got, just from watching the, I'm going to put that out of the way so I don't need that for a while yet, if at all. From watching the videos, and just another thing people use quite often is a comb, and you can buy quilling combs, but from what I can see, any comb's going to do it. So I'll probably more likely use this end of it. So I've got that handy to try. And I've also found that a lot of people suggest, as a way of applying the glue, these little fine nozzle ones are really handy, especially if you need to get in underneath where you've missed a bit, or you just want to apply a tiny dot somewhere, because it is all quite delicate. But for actually getting glue onto these ends of the strips so that they will adhere to the paper, what I've seen people do is spread a thin layer, and they use a card to do it, and just spread a thin layer onto the surface and then dip the paper into it. So I want to try that as well, so that's what that's there for. It's an old National Trust card, not my current one. And then when I was in the charity shop the other day, because I always have a look in the crafty bit just to see, there's not often anything there in our local charity shops that's worth having, but occasionally I get lucky, and I found all of these. They were only £1 a pack. I thought, well, that's got to be a bargain surely, so I bought one of each colour that they had, and it's the same kind of thing, but twice the depth. And while I've been watching all these hundreds of videos, I've seen some lovely things done where they make a feature of the kind of depth of it. It kind of throws a coloured shadow onto it, and you can even colour the background. And yeah, so I thought, well, some of these deeper ones would be nice to play with as well if I get into it, and they're only £1 each. So for Christmas in July, the idea was I was supposed to create a Christmas scene, and what I've decided I'll do is a wreath. And then if it turns out all right, I might put it in a little box frame, because it could go up at Christmas, I guess. So what I need to do is make a lot of different kinds of leaves, and some little things like mistletoe berries and holly berries, and possibly some Michaelmas daisies, because I just like daisies and I think they might look pretty. And there's a few techniques I would like to try. Yeah, so quite a lot of different quilling techniques that I want to have a go at. So what I'm going to do now is stop filming a minute, try some of the techniques, and then I'll maybe come back and show you. Or what I'll do is just link to the videos that I'm watching. I've watched an awful lot of videos, so I'm going to be doing a bit of a mashup, and I'll come back and show you once I've fumbled around a bit. Well, that's gone reasonably well, doing his pine needles. I'm quite happy with those. It's quite interesting that you don't just use the one thickness of paper, you glue two of the strips together to get this kind of two-tone effect. I really like that. And if I wanted these to be longer, I can just glue two lengths together, and then I could have kept folding. So I'm going to quickly show you how I did that, because it's really easy. But what I'm going to do is link to 2 or 3 of my favourite ones that I've been watching, so that you can watch someone show you how to do it better. So I've got all of these different shades of green to choose from. So I quite liked the look of that darkest green, the really, I tried two different things here. That one's got the more limey green in the middle, and this has got this sort of paler green here. So I need 2 strips plus an extra. I will only use half of. So I'm going to fold each strip in half. I did a Mobius strip then. I've noticed that they've got, the strips have got this kind of, if you look, I don't know if you're able to see actually. If you look there, that's kind of, the edges are kind of rounded off. If you turn it over, if you've done any die cutting, you'll know what I mean. You get this kind of, it's more of a rough edge on one side and a smooth edge on the other. So I'm getting fussy about this now. I want the smooth edge on the outside. Probably not a thing anyone else is going to notice, but there we go. Those two I'm going to leave whole, and this one I'm going to cut in half where the fold is. I'm going to have my darker strip on the outside, so I'll pick that one up first. I'm going to put the tiniest amount of glue just there. That's even more than enough. And then put the other folded piece just there, so they're held together. Press that together just for it to stick, and then open it out, put another little dot of glue there, and just put that one of the half pieces there. Make sure they're all stacked up nicely so they're lined up. So the idea is that this is going to be the middle strip. That will stay still. We're not going to be folding that at all. We're just going to fold these other two, and we'll fold 2 layers at the same time. So I'm going to take about what is that, about 1.5 centimetres? Yeah. So about 1.5 centimetres there, and I'm just going to fold back, and then do exactly the same with those 2 thicknesses on the other side. Try and keep them as symmetrical as possible, and then a dot of glue there, and a dot of glue there, just to hold those together. If you don't put too much, it dries pretty quickly. You've only got to hold it just for a couple of seconds, and that's enough. And then now I'm going to fold back the other way, but I'm just going to come down a little bit. So there's that original fold there. I'm just going to come down a little way from there, about 0.5 centimetre, and fold it back down. And then the same on the other side. Get that quite perfect, but you know, nature's never completely perfect. And then I'm going to fold back the other way again, so just those 2 outside layers, leaving this middle one straight. I'll come down about, there's where we folded back the last time. I'm going to come down about 0.5 centimetre again, 0.5 centimetre further down the stem, and fold it back. I keep stacking these, I keep doing this just to make sure they're all lined up nicely so it's straight. And then same on the other side. Okay, like that, and then glue. This little needle point bottle is really handy. There we go, hold that. And now fold back the other way. Again, coming down 0.5 centimetre further this time. So you end up with this kind of stepped effect like that. And I'm just going to work all the way along till I get to the other end, and then I'll show you how to finish off. Okay, so I've come back down again. I haven't now got enough length left there to fold it back that way and back again, so it's time to stop. And now I need to glue all the thicknesses together, really, to keep it all anchored down and create that kind of stem. So I'm putting just a little tiny amount of glue on each of those thicknesses and gluing the whole thing together. Stack them all up nicely, and then just I've not lined that up very well there, but if I take that apart now, it'll probably it'll probably tear it all apart. So I think I'm going to leave that as it is, and that stem I'll be able to hide that anyway in amongst everything else. Get that off so they're all level, and then you just kind of curl it like this to get that nice pine needle shape. Pretty, very satisfying. There. Right, I'm going to try mistletoe now. I'll be back in a minute. Okay, so I have done a few mistletoe leaves. I'm using the little quilling tool this time, and you just it makes it ever so easy. You just slot it into the little slot in the tool and just twizzle, you know, fairly firmly but not too tight, because you won't get it off the tool otherwise. Doing this arm's length, so it's a little bit difficult, but you want to try and keep it level, not do what I'm doing there. If I got it up here I can do it, but trying to do it out at arm's length is a bit difficult. And you do need the whole length of that paper. A lot of people do it with they just shred, you know, use a paper shredder and shred just thin, you know, printer paper. It's probably a nicer finish on this stuff, but oh, I shouldn't have put that glue yet. Oh. See, trying to talk and do. That's all right. Wiped it off. Right, so then you just do that, zip it off the tool, and I'm just going to drop it into one of these circle slots. Let it sort of spread out. That's why you don't want the glue on yet. And then take it out. Oops. Put a little glue on the end. Like I say, get a little bit of a smoother sort of finish if you just tear the end instead of cutting it. And then I'm just going to squeeze one end, so you can see the little coil goes towards the end. Squeeze one end and just leave this end rounded to get that mistletoe leaf shape. Now the tutorial I was following does sort of arranges them all along a stem, kind of oops kind of all in the same direction like that, but I don't think that's not how I remember mistletoe anyway. It's kind of more like, maybe more like this, yeah, with some berries. So that's what I'm going to be doing. So what I'm going to do then is take another piece of slightly different coloured paper, lighter or darker, whatever, just to give it a bit of a contrast. Put some more glue and then just kind of wrap it round, just to finish it all off. Sort of shape it a bit. We go. Whoops. Another leaf. And now I can do the berries. So for the berries I'm going to want white, I guess, aren't I? Have I got some white? Is that the one colour I don't have? Well, luckily I've got some. Like I had already. This is a much thinner, a much narrower paper, but I guess that'll be alright as it's for the berries. A pearly finish. Oh, I don't think the camera's going to pick up. It doesn't like pearly. Yeah, you can just about see it there. It's got a pearly finish. That would be really nice for the berries, actually. This is some that I've had for ages, which someone gave me as a present a while back, along with a quilling book. I just never got around to trying it. I've always fancied having a go. I'm quite enjoying myself. It's very time consuming, but I'm sitting here catching up on some YouTube videos. I might listen to an audible book later. Right, so with this one I'm just gonna, I think I'll try using the whole thing because I want the berries to be pretty densely packed. I think that is looking like it's going to be too much. I'm going to take that off and start again. Probably only need half then. It's just because I don't want massive great mistletoe berries. And again, I'm doing my own thing. The tutorial that I'm kind of half looking at has made the mistletoe berries red, which they're not, are they? They're white. So I don't want to glue it yet. Take it off the tool. And then I'm going to put it into that circle. Let's see how this works. This is, I haven't practiced this first. I'm just showing you what I'm doing as I go along. Now I don't really want that hole in the middle. That's the only thing. Oh, Johnny did give me tweezers, and I can see why. Yeah, I'm not too happy with that one. I'm going to try it again. Just I don't want that hole in the middle of it, but I'm not sure how I'm going to get around it at the moment. Okay, I'll be back. Can you hear that thunder outside? Okay, I've had another look at the tutorial, and what she's done is use a pair of tweezers to roll this even more closely so that you've got very, very little, if any, hole at all in the middle. It sort of helped to have twizzled it on the quilling tool first, because that sort of helped to start the paper curling. So I'm just going to carry on holding it on. I can probably take it off the tweezers now and keep rolling it just in my fingers. People also do this to create the centre of daisies and things like that, and sometimes they fringe the quilling paper first and then do this. You get a really densely packed kind of fluffy looking centre. So I might try a little bit of that as well, but I don't think that's going to be something I'm going to try and film, because as you can see, it's quite hard for me to film this, and there are lots and lots and lots of quilling tutorials already. As I say, I'll link to 2 or 3 of the ones that I've found that I've enjoyed or found useful. But if you just put quilling in the search box, you'll find hundreds will come up. Okay, I think that's about as tightly packed as I'm going to get it. I want that to glue, so I've still got a hole in the middle. I think if I practice a bit more, I might be able to do it without a hole. I'm going to tell myself that that's that kind of little, you sometimes get like a little kind of dot, don't you, in the middle of a berry, where its stalk would be. And what the lady I'm watching does is she uses various different ways of rounding out these. I've tried to find some roundy things. Rounding out 2 of these circular pieces, and then she glues them. It's going to take some practice. Then she glues them and glues 2 of them together to create a whole sphere. She makes it look really easy. I'm not. Ooh, I've just pinged that. Oh, there it is. I'm not going to worry about that, because what she does then is wire them so that it's kind of very three-dimensional, and you can look at it from all sides. I don't need to do that, because I'm going to do a wreath on a thing that's only really going to be viewed from the front and maybe slightly from the sides. So I'm not going to worry about that, but it is something I'd like to be able to get the hang of. Yeah, at the moment that doesn't look too much like a mistletoe berry, but having said that, in context, on a wreath with lots of other leaves, I think it will give the impression, won't it? If you look there, it will give the impression because of the context it's in. So I'm going to carry on, make a few more of these leaves and a few more of the berries, and when I try a different technique, so I still want to try the comb, and maybe I'll see if I can get any of these other shapes. I mean, they show this shape, they have this shape here, but you can get that just by doing the round and then squeezing it. What I'm finding is that as soon as I take them out of the shape, like I tried the oval one, it just goes back into a circle again. And I'm not sure how this will work, or the squares. And most of the tutorials I'm seeing, they just seem to use the circles, but I'm going to have a go. One thing I'd like to do is to put some Christmas lights in amongst my wreath. So for that, I would probably like one of these little squares, and then a shape something like this to make the kind of bulb. So we'll see. So I might try it for that, but when I come to do something different, I'll come back and show you. And then other than that, I'll just give you a quick sort of speed of me assembling the wreath. Oh yeah, the other thing is that the thing that you kind of tend to first think of with quilling, which is actually kind of shaping the pieces and dipping them in the glue and then attaching them to the page like that, rather than making separate pieces and gluing them on afterwards. So I'll come back and show you how I get on with that as well. Wish me luck. Right, got another fun one to show you now, using the comb this time, and it made this cute little I really like the shape of that. It's lovely, and it's really fun how you do it. So let me show you. So you take one of the strips first and cut it in half, and cut it like that, and then you take one half and thread it into your comb like that, leave a bit of a tail because that will become the stalk, and then you just wind the strip in and out between the teeth of the comb. Until you get about halfway up. Oh look, I missed one down there. Let's go back this way a bit quicker. Okay, so I'm about halfway up my strip now, maybe one more, and then bring the strip up like that and leave it up on top, and make sure these are in about the same place on the teeth of the comb each time. So because this is one half of the leaf, you need it to match the other half. So when you've done that, you just get your little glue bottle, and you just put a tiny dot of glue, that's probably a little bit more than I need, on each little point, and then I've put some on there as well, and then you just fold the other half back over like that. Straighten it all up. Really doesn't take very long at all, especially if you don't put too much glue. Okay, so now I'm going to carefully take it off, and then I'm just going to gently just press all these down, make sure they're really nicely stuck. And probably, if I wasn't just doing this to quickly show you now, I'd just make a whole load of these halves first and put them to one side and make sure they're absolutely dry before I do the next bit. But because I just want to be able to just show you, I'm going to throw caution to the wind and do it straight away. So I'm just running a little bit of glue all the way down there. I'm just making sure it's always covered all the way down, and then I'm going to match the two halves up and glue them together, and they should match up nicely because I've used the comb to do them both. That's why it's important to get it on the same point every time, just so you know they'll match up nicely. There you go. And again, I will probably make a whole lot of these up. I'll do this stage, glue them together, and then set it to one side to be absolutely sure it's fully dry before I do the next bit. But I'm being impatient because I just want to show you this. It's really fun. First time I did it, I thought this is never going to work, and it did. Shame I wasn't recording it that time because it'd probably go wrong now. Okay, so once you're sure that's properly really nicely stuck, you just keep hold of it here, and then you just pinch here, not too hard, firm enough but not ridiculously hard or you'll break it, and you just run your finger up here like this, and you can feel it squashing under your fingers, and it does that. How cute is that? I love it. So I'm going to make a whole load of these as well, and then I'll be back. This is not a quick process. I've been here a couple of hours and I still haven't done all that much, but it's a really relaxing thing to do, and I have to just keep reminding myself that there is no rush. I did a couple of these little leaves which were just made in the same way as the mistletoe one, where you basically coil up a whole strip, let it relax a bit into one of these circles, and then pinch the ends in different ways so that in that case I just pinched one end, and then in this case I pinched both ends, whereas with that one I sort of pinched one end and rounded the other end out and shaped it a bit. So that was just experimenting with different ways of doing the same thing, really. And then the latest one I've been doing, I want to make one of these poinsettia flowers. Poinsettia flowers. So with this, it was using the comb, so I thought I'll come back and show you what I've been doing there. So what I'm going to need is 5 of the larger shaped petals, and let's put them on here. 5 of these larger ones and 5 of the smaller ones, and 5 green leaves as well. There are a few different poinsettia tutorials. I saw this was kind of the easiest one, and I'm finding I can get one large petal and one small petal comfortably out of one strip using this comb. But then I've also dug out this comb, which is an old, like they call it a fine tooth comb, basically it's a knit comb. And I think this one must have been knocking around since the kids were small and at school, and they were always coming home with, well, actually I think we only ever managed to get them once, but they were always coming home with, yeah, knits are going round, and you had to do the treatment because your skin was crawling at the very thought of it, so you did the treatment anyway. Last time it happened I just had a perm. Is that something still people still get perms? Anyway, it was all the rage back in the 80s when the kids were little. So I've got that, and I think this might be a better option, so I'm going to try that for my leaves in a minute. But anyway, this is how I've been doing, and I've done a bit of a mixture of some of the tutorials I've seen and then put my own spin on it a bit. So I'm just going to start by just curling the little end of this around my pokey tool and just giving that a couple of turns, and that just gives me the little like a little scroll shape. I can just hook onto one of these teeth of the comb. Just keep it there. And then I'm gonna and with my paper at the back, and then I'm going to bring it up to the front again, but moving one tooth down, and then bring it up and back down again, taking it one tooth further up, bringing it up again, one tooth further down, down again, one tooth further up. So I'm going one tooth further this way and one tooth further this way each time. So then I've got that first one I started on where that little scroll was. I'm going to aim to have 4 teeth either side of that scroll. So that's 3, and this is the last one, 4. Tear that off there. Put a little bit of glue. Tidy that all up and slip it off the comb. So I've got like that. And then so each petal needs 3 of these. So that I need to make 3 of this in the larger size, and then I will go on and use the rest of that strip to make this a smaller one. So I need 3 smaller ones, and I've got 3 smaller ones I've done here. Here are 3 I prepared earlier. And then I'm gonna glue these 3 together. Where I've done the joins, I've put them to the inside. Not that it matters too much because I'm going to cover the outer edges anyway. So I'm just lining them up kind of end to end like that. Last one going on. So there's a little bit of bounce in this, so that it will want to bounce away from the glue. It will want to, so you just have to hold it for a minute while that glue just grabs. This is I ended up using this tacky glue, which is a bit thicker and seems to just hold things a little bit easier. So now that's pretty much holding there. So now I'm just gonna squeeze them and shape them a little bit together. And then what I did, which is one of my little spins on it, because you've always got to do your own thing, haven't you? A little bit. I'm taking a little bit of this darker red. Just putting that around the outside just to give it a bit more interest, really. Tear that off. A bit more glue. So that's one of my smaller petals. So, whoops, I'll end up arranging the 5 larger petals like that, and then the smaller petals will go on top, won't they? Sort of in between. And then I need the green ones as well, and then I'll do some little yellow coils to go in the middle to make the centre of the flower. So that's that one. So I won't bore you with doing any more of those. And then I'll try green leaf kind of in the same way, but I'm going to try it on this, which I think will give me a finer, slightly closer texture. So I think that'll be good. And I might try using different colours with that as well. Maybe even use 2 strips together, so it'll be a bit thicker and denser and sort of an interesting colour. Don't know. Haven't quite decided about that yet. Maybe if I do the leaf ones like this, they'll be slightly closer together, and then I'll put a darker one around the outside of each one of these, and then put the 3 together. That way I'll get some sort of lines up. That might look good. So I'm going to try that. And then the other thing that I just thought, this is going to be a bit fiddly, and I'm just so not an expert. I'm not going to try and sort of show you how to do this, but I think they call this standing quilling. This is more the sort of traditional thing where you make the coil and then shape it, and then there's using the comb to make this kind of thing, and then there's this standing quilling. So this is how you get when you see those lovely shaped monograms and things. And I would like to try something like that, where you make a letter like this, basically assume that's a lovely letter or word. You do that in the same colour as the background that you're using. Some people suggest actually cutting your strips yourself for that to get a sturdier, or gluing two together. And then you fill in either the inside or the outside of the letter with quilled shapes. Yeah, it looks really nice actually, so I might try some of them. This will be the first time I've tried this, so I just thought let's do something smaller. Let's try a holly leaf. And what you have to do is actually take the strip, curl it where you've got a curve like this. You need to curl it with, probably using the tool is better. I tend to go with my fingers. And then carefully fold it when you get to the point, curl it again, carefully fold it and measure it all out, so all of that is folded and curved to follow the shape of this outline that I've done. And now I'm hoping I can glue it to that outline. So you're about to witness my first attempt. No, I do not have the time or the patience to go to all that trouble for one leaf. That is not going to be happening. Where I think I might try that technique is for making a large letter or shape or heart shape or something that I can fill in with other quilling. So I will come back to that, but it's not worth the time and effort just for one leaf. I'm currently watching a video that says it's about how to use all the quilling tools, hoping that they'll give me a demonstration of how to use these other shapes apart, because all I've seen anyone do so far is just use the circles just to hold a coiled strip and let it kind of relax out to the size you want. I haven't seen anyone at the moment. I can't see the point of these, because all you need to do is make a circle and pinch it to get that shape. I'll be interested. At the moment she skimmed over this and only told me about the circles and the other side. She's not mentioned any of these other shapes. They must be useful, otherwise why would they keep doing them? But yeah, I want to find someone. If she ends up explaining it, I will link to her channel as well. Okay, but for now, that's it. I'm going to carry on and make a few more of the shapes that I've already got. I've learnt a couple more things. I did find, finally, a tutorial that showed me what all these different things are for. I will definitely link to that channel in the description box. The idea isn't to put a coil in there and then coax it into the shape, or so try and it's not for that at all. What you do is make smaller shapes that fit inside of these shapes. And one of the ways of doing that is to take one of the strips and make it fit the outline like that. I haven't glued that in, it's just resting in there. I did glue the two ends to the end one where they overlap there. And then I've made another coil and squeezed the end to make that kind of teardrop shape. And I'm going to put that in here to fit that heart, and I'm going to do another one. And while I do the other one, I can show you the other discovery. So it suddenly occurred to me, because one of the videos I was watching was showing me the different tools and things, that I hadn't actually used this or thought about what it was for. So I was missing a trick there. So this is the curling coach, and the idea is you put the quilling tool through there, and then you can pull, because sometimes as you're curling it will tend to like poke up in the middle, or sort of turn into like a mountain shape and it's quite hard to control. But if I just now pull this back so it fits the size of strip I'm using, rest my finger gently on the top there and start turning, it's so much easier. So much easier, and it's all staying completely level. Genius. Such a simple thing. And of course you've got the little holes here, so I could use that instead of the board. I'm finding it much quicker and easier to do now. And so now, rather than putting it off and maybe like leaving the centre behind, which I've done a couple of times, I can actually just keep my finger on there, take the tool out, and there it is, all ready to put inside one of these. Now, which sides did I use? Can't remember if I did that one or that one to make that teardrop. Let's go this one. No, this one. So now I can make my little teardrop shape. I've made it too big, haven't I? Look, I've made it too big. But you get the idea. I'd put it inside there. I'm going to do another one now. Probably should have done both the circles at the same time, but you know, that would have been far too sensible. you can see where I'm going. So with, you know, you could just make little coils, like, just for want of argument, say I was wanting to fill this shape, I could make different sizes of little rolled pieces to fill the shape, and you can like pinch little triangle shapes to fill in. Yeah, so there's all sorts of things I can do with that. I also had a go at rolling a coil with some metallic, and then using this and where is it, this one, just to keep pushing it out, and then squashed it flat a bit just to get a little kind of bell shape. So I might do a few of them. They'll look kind of like, are they bells or are they flower buds, or are they, would make a nice base for an acorn, wouldn't it? Just to go in amongst my wreath that I'm going to make. Another thing that I saw, the same person was going through, she went through all of the tools. It's a really handy video. She used an embossing tool to make a shape, so into a cork board, which is on the back of this quilling board, so you've got that kind of, so you've got that shape embossed there, and then she put glue in there. So this was to get the what they call the, what is it called, standing, remember it's standing quilling, and apparently it's a good idea to use a double thickness or cardboard for this instead of the normal quilling paper. So you basically, like I was trying to do with the holly early one, didn't work. So you shape this first to fit the shape that you've outlined. Fold it where it's going to need to fold. Curve it where it's going to need to curve, so that it fits that outline. Then you apply your glue. She just put the glue straight into this channel, and apparently it helps it to stay upright. I'm not showing you very well, but that's just the principle of it. And then you can also use the pins to hold it all in place, to kind of create like a temporary jig to hold it all in place. And then that reminds me of the other thing, which is this bit of the board. So this is like a kind of mini husking board. There's these things called husking boards, and you can put the pins in again to create this kind of jig. So you might start here, wind it up around and back again, and then you might wind it up around that pin and back again. You can create all kinds of shapes with that. One more thing that people did that I might try is they created a much more tightly coiled, it's something like this but much more tightly coiled, and then a bit like I've done there, to use different tools, and kind of, they have these little rounded moulds to help to shape these into nice little domes. They did a similar thing with this kind of a shape but more tightly coiled, and raised it up in the middle like that, and then used it either one way up or the other to create little flower petals. So I'm going to have a go at that as well. I'm not going to start trying to do a quilling tutorial because I don't have the expertise. What I'll do is I'll go away now and try out all of those ideas, make a whole lot of pieces that I can use to assemble my little Christmas. Don't even know if it will be a wreath now. I might go with something different, but let's say it's going to be a wreath. I'll create a whole lot of different things, and then some pieces I will be doing the kind of raised standing quilling. Now, I can't find it now, but that basically outlining a bit like I've done there with that heart shape. So part of what I'm going to do will be using that technique, and I'll assemble them sort of onto the finished piece of paper. But yeah, so I'm going to stop recording this now and come back and show you when I've got a whole load of pieces, and then in the next video I'll start putting it together. Well, a couple more hours and this is what I've got so far, so I'm going to stop now and bring this video to a finish. Probably spend a few more hours making plenty of leaves and things to play with, more of the lights, and a couple more of the hearts. And I've been scribbling out some ideas for different ways to, oh, you can't see, it's all bleached out because I've got the curtains open today. So I could do this outline in a raised, in the standing kind of quilling, and then write this inside. There's different ways I might do it, or I might go back to my original idea of just creating a wreath and just putting a bit of wording inside. So I'm going to carry on making a whole lot more fodder, but I'm going to bring this video to an end now. So it's been really fun. I'm really enjoying it, but it is very, very time consuming, and I'm just really, really busy at the moment. So I don't know how long it'll be before I get around to coming back, but it is a really enjoyable process if you want something new to try. It's relatively inexpensive actually. You don't need a lot of fancy tools really at all, and you can get a kit at a fairly reasonable price. Johnny did say he didn't go over the £10 budget with this one, so yeah, so I recommend having a go at it. I've even got even my mug is, I've got my Christmas mug out to put me in the Christmas in July mood. I really should come back and finish this and do it before the end of July, so but yeah, that gives me a couple of weeks. So thank you very much for joining me. I hope you enjoyed that. Have you tried quilling yourself? Have you got any tips or ideas for me to try? I will put links to, there are just so many video tutorials out there. I'll put links to 2 or 3 of my favourite channels that I found that I watched quite a bit, but if anybody's got any others, please do feel free to share them in the comments. That's it from me for today. Thank you very much, and I'll see you again really, really soon.